before he wrote one of the most beloved hymns in Christian history. He ran away from home at 14, joined a gang of drunken troublemakers, and nearly lost everything. Years later, after a single moment that shattered him, he would sit down and write the words. This is the story behind Come, Thou Fount of every blessing, written not by a saint, but by a restless wanderer who spent his entire life fighting his own heart. Please stick with me to the end, because what happened to this hymn writer later in life is something almost nobody talks about, and it changes the meaning of this hymn forever. Before Come Thou Fount ever existed, there was a boy named Robert Robinson. Not a church boy, not a choir boy, not a future pastor. He was just angry at life, angry at his circumstances, angry at the God he didn't understand. At 14 years old, Robert's father died, leaving the family drowning in poverty. His mother, overwhelmed and desperate, couldn't control him. Robert didn't turn to faith, he turned to the streets. He fell in with a gang of London's most rowdy youths, the kind who lived their nights in taverns, pranks, fights, and chaotic rebellion. He wasn't looking for the truth. He wasn't looking for forgiveness. He was looking for escape, and he would keep running until one night changed everything. It was supposed to be a joke, a dare among boys who thought everything was funny. They decided to attend a preaching event featuring the famous evangelist George Whitefield, just to mock him. They pushed through the crowd, whispering, laughing, ready to disrupt the moment. But the moment disrupted them. Whitefield preached from Matthew 3, verse 7. Who warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Those words hit Robert like a hammer. Not the preacher voice, not the theatrics, just that one. Years passed. Robert Robinson became a preacher not because he felt worthy, but because he knew what it meant to live without hope. But his faith wasn't always steady. He had doubts, fears, moments where he felt his old self creeping back in. And one day, during a season of deep spiritual struggle, he began writing words that poured straight from his heart. Not polished, not sanitized, not churchy, just raw honesty. Come Thou Fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Tune my heart. It's such a simple line, but it's everything. He wasn't asking God to fix him. He wasn't asking God to pretend he was good. He was asking God to tune him the way a musician tunes an instrument that keeps drifting out of key. Because Robert knew he drifted, daily, constantly, and then came the verse that defined his entire life. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. This wasn't a confession of failure. It was a confession of humanity. Robert Robinson was saying what millions of believers feel but rarely admit. I want God, but my heart wanders. I love God, but I forget him. I believe, but sometimes I walk away. That honesty is why this hymn has endured for over 250 years. Not because it is perfect, but because it tells the truth. Most people don't know this, but Come Thou Fount originally had a verse that is rarely sung today. A verse that reveals Robert's deepest fears. It begins, "Oh, that day when freed from sinning, I shall see thy lovely face." This wasn't poetic optimism. It was desperation. Robert believed that only in heaven would his wandering finally stop. Only in eternity would he be whole. Only then would the chaos inside him finally be at peace. This missing verse adds a layer of longing and ache to the hymn. A cry from a man who felt the weight of his own weakness every single day. It makes the entire hymn more than worship. It becomes a journal entry, a confession, a plea for help, a reminder that faith is not for the perfect. Faith is for the wanderer. Now here's the part almost no one talks about. The part that changes the meaning of this hymn entirely. Later in his life, Robert Robinson did wander, not just spiritually, but publicly. His zeal faded, his passion cooled, and some historians believe he drifted far from the faith he once preached. His life became a struggle of confusion, conflict, and deep regret. And then comes the story that has been told for centuries. One day, while traveling, Robert encountered a woman who was reading a hymn book. She turned to him, unaware of who he was, and said, "Sir, what do you think of this hymn?" Then she began to read the words. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. He broke down in tears. With his voice trembling, he responded, "Madam, I am the poor, unhappy man who wrote that hymn, and I would give anything to feel now what I felt then." Even if embellished, the story reflects a truth consistent with his life. Robert Robinson was a man who never stopped struggling, never stopped wrestling, never stopped longing for God, which is exactly why his hymn still matters. Because it wasn't written from victory, it was written from vulnerability. And that vulnerability resonates across centuries. More than 250 years later, Come Thou Fount is still one of the most searched hymns in the world. Why? Because the human heart hasn't changed. People still wander. People still feel lost. People still crave the grace that streams like never ceasing. Modern worship bands have revived it. Choirs around the world still sing it. TikTok and YouTube covers keep it trending. Not because it's nostalgic, not because it's traditional, but because it is real. Because every time we sing Prone to Wander, we admit what Robert admitted. I'm not perfect. I drift. But God's grace keeps calling me back. This hymn doesn't glorify the wanderer. It glorifies the fount, the source of mercy that never runs dry. And that message, it will never get old. So what does the story of Come Thou Fount teach us today? It teaches us that faith isn't about having an unbroken record. It's about having a God who never stops calling. It teaches us that honesty is more powerful than pretending. And it reminds us that even when your heart wanders, God is still tuning it, still shaping it, still holding it. Robert Robinson didn't write this hymn as a man who had arrived. He wrote it as a man who was still on the journey, which means this hymn is not about perfection. It's about grace. Maybe right now you're carrying something heavy, a silent battle, a decision you're afraid to make, a prayer you've whispered 1,000 times with no answer in sight, a fear about tomorrow, or a regret about yesterday. And yet somehow, in this moment, this hymn, this story, found you. And maybe it's God's gentle way of saying, I'm still here. I haven't forgotten you. I'm still writing your story. If this episode touched you, even a little, even for a moment, if it helped you breathe, if it reminded you of who God is, if it helped you feel seen, or encouraged, or strengthened, then I want to invite you, not just to support this channel, but to walk with us on this journey. Because every week, we dig into the stories behind these hymns, stories that prove again and again that God shows up in the darkest, hardest, most impossible moments. Stories that remind us that faith isn't a feeling, it's a lifeline. So if you're listening right now and something inside you is whispering, subscribe, not for numbers, but so you don't miss the next reminder God may send your way. Comment your thoughts. Your words may be the encouragement someone else needs today. Share, comment, stay connected, and let the next chapter of this journey transform you just as it has those who came before us.